So some of you are going to be a little bit upset that I taught you long division, because now I'm going to teach you something called synthetic division, and it's actually a lot easier than long division. The reason I had to teach you long division is because synthetic division only works in certain cases, and those certain cases are when the binomial we're dividing by has a lead coefficient of 1. So we could not use synthetic division. For example, if we were trying to divide by 2y minus 3, we would have to use long division. But synthetic division is a really nice tool in those cases that it works. So a couple of things we have to keep in mind when we're doing long division. We're setting up something kind of similar to what we set up when we use long division, except for it goes the other way. We're only using the coefficients, so we get to drop every variable when we're doing synthetic division. Make sure that you put your dividend in standard form, and you have to use zeros as placeholders if a term is missing, and I'll explain what that means in a second. So looking at my dividend, I've got 2y cubed as my greatest exponent. So I'm using the coefficient 2, and I drop the y cubed. Next highest power is a square. -1 is my coefficient. The next highest power would be 1. I don't have a y term, so the coefficient of my y term is 0. That's what I'm talking about when I said the placeholder. And then my constant is 25. Now outside, we're using the opposite of the constant for our divisor. So this is one of those tricky pieces of synthetic division that you have to keep in mind. Think about the asylum. What synthetic division helps us do is find our roots. The roots, or the zeros, of y minus 3, when you set that equal to 0, you would add 3 to both sides and get y equals 3. So we're using that root, or the 0, not the number in the asylum. All right, so here's our process for synthetic division. You just bring down the first coefficient, which in this case is 2, and then you multiply by that constant that's outside our box. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. Write it under the -1, add, multiply by 3, add, multiply by 3, and add. The reason synthetic division is so much easier than long division is there's not actually any division involved in this process. We're multiplying and adding, which is easier than dividing and subtracting. So as I mentioned, a really nice tool. So here's what all those numbers mean. They're the coefficients of our answer. Okay, so our answer will always start with a power 1 smaller than our dividend. So the highest power on our dividend was 3. So the highest power on our answer will be 2. So here's my coefficient, 2x squared plus 5x plus 15. That last number is my remainder. So plus 70 over my divisor was y minus 3, and now that I'm looking at this, all of my variables should have been y's. I'm too used to using x's. So we'll go back and switch those. So we have a common variable, there we go. All right, our next one looks a little bit more fun. We've got a fraction. No big deal, at least we're not doing long division, right? So I start by putting my coefficients in standard form inside the box. So my highest power is 2, so I've got my lead coefficient is 9. Next highest power is 3, and then my constant. And this does cover the x squared, x, and then the 0 power, so I didn't need any placeholders on this one. Opposite of my divisor goes outside, bring down the 9, multiply, add, multiply, add. So in this case, when that last number is 0, it means we don't have a remainder. So here's our quotient, 9x plus 6. Now remember that the highest power, the degree on our dividend was 2. So the degree on our quotient starts 1 less than that, in this case 1. We'll look at the last example on this page. Same process. My lead coefficient, this one's nice, it's in standard form. My lead coefficient is 3. The next highest power is 3, the coefficient is 1. The next highest power would be 2. I don't have an x squared term, so I need a 0. 5x, and -1 is my constant. the opposite of the divisor, the constant in the divisor comes out, drop the 3, multiply by -2, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and multiply. And one last adding. All right, the highest power in my dividend was 4, so the highest power on my answer will be 3. So these are my coefficients. We've got 3x cubed minus 7x squared plus 14x minus 23, with my remainder of 45 over x plus 2.